Bloodbath by Riot and more is without doubt the most well-known demon in Geometry Dash. It is so well known that I might be able to remake it from memory better than Stereo Madness. At least I do hope so. But let's get into the video and let's see what I made. Hey guys, it's Wooful and welcome back to Geometry Dash. Since the Stereo Madness remake video got like insanely popular, I decided to do it with another level. And why not do it with Bloodbath, the most iconic demon in Geometry Dash? And I'll try to do as much commentary as I possibly can. So the first ship part by Tio, absolutely legendary. This ball part, I might have a few problems. Oh, come on. Well, I guess the music is screwed up. Pretty scared for making Evasium. After looking at Bloodbath to refresh my memory on it, I began with the actual recreation. But anyway, let's begin with Tio. And let's just map out a gameplay line. I first began with Wio's part, which surprisingly was the one I remembered the most of. You can't change the object color anymore for some reason, and I don't know why. But since I've mapped out this already, I guess that makes this easier for me to do. I began with Wio's first ship part, which is one of the most iconic parts of Bloodbath. Because I think that was like the tightness of this part. I know that the part wasn't straight fly. I accidentally overcomplicated this ship part by adding a little bit too many spike variations. And then there's, of course, the inconsistent orb into the upside down cube. This cube part was pretty easy to make, except the transitioning into the next part. An orb here and then a fake orb right here. I'll also do some structuring like right now. Then we get onto some pad spam. Let's put these blue pads here and let's place these blocks down. And now we get onto the legendary straight fly part. I'll just go over this in post commentary because my normal commentary wasn't really that good. I first mapped out the gameplay line, which I pretty much always do when I build my parts. And now for this part, we get onto something very hard to make, being some straight fly synced the music. This part was almost perfect, but I screwed up near the end of it. Then I remember there being some slopes, and yeah, just some slow speed hold thingo right here. After working on a little transition, I began with Wio's ball part. And then we got onto the 3x speed mini ball part. Then I'll just coat this in like spikes, some of these slopes right here, and some blocks on the slopes. And then here it gets into like some interesting structuring. I tend to play this ball part a lot in my free time, and that's partly the reason why I managed to create this so accurately. I remember there being a 4 wide structure beginning like up here. I then placed down some more structures, added an orb, and placed some more structures. Go down here, there's a spike here and there. Another one of these structures. If I structure this down to the ground. So if you click the orb, then you die. Yeah, and then you go into the 3x ship part. After polishing some bugs and working on the transition, I began with Vermilion's part in Bloodbath, which was pretty straightforward. I remember that these structures were like encoded in ground spikes that you had to avoid. There were some pretty tight structures over here. So it's like you do stuff all the way down here. I kind of overestimated the difficulty of Bloodbath, especially with Vermilion's parts. I don't think that was like right away. I think that tight timing was like when you got to here and something over here. Like, let's say it's not something like that. I'll use these spikes instead. Yeah, like that's where I remember that click to be. So like you do some more tight timings over here. I for some reason forgot to add the ground spikes for this part, but I'll probably add them once I begin with decoration. Oh, that's definitely way too hard. Okay. Then I remember the like slope thing to be right here. Oh, not that close to the ground. Not that close to the ground. Okay. Connect this to the ground. And then I spent around 2 minutes on structuring for the part before I began on Vermilion's ball part. Why am I playing through this so much? I do remember that this was not like entirely on sync. And then like you had to do some stuff like this. And so I'll do one more block here. This part had by far the simplest structuring, which helped me a lot in the creation of this. We go on to this being even more shut up wall timings. Oh no, not that spam. Okay, so you go down for a little bit, take a little break, take a reek with another spike, and here. Very riveting stuff, I know. Another shut up ball timing. That feels way too easy. I think I just forgot to put a spike here. I then tweaked some gameplay and added some structures. I also added a frame perfect. And after adding some more structures and this auto part, I began with Michigan's part in Bloodbath. But now we're back to Bloodbath, and now we're at Michigan, so I think this will probably be one of the easiest parts to remake because Michigan is so iconic. So let's begin by... I didn't really struggle with the Cuban ship part in Michigan's part, but I began to struggle when I got to the ball part. Just something simple like this with just 5 wide structures. Then another blue pad right here. Then we get the ship portal, is that? So it's like the straight fly. Some spikes below. Maybe that was platforms as well. Although this part was really easy to make, my commentary for this part wasn't that easy to edit. Let's take every other one of these spikes and these need to be moved exactly to the grid. I screwed around with the exact tightness of the ball timings, but I eventually figured it out. Although those timings are super free. Yeah, this is definitely on grid. And then maybe it was the spikes that were half spaced. See, that looks like the proper thingo. So I'll just take these, link them together, and copy and paste them. I then began with the UFO part, which went alright. Maybe it was something like this. Yeah, this UFO part wasn't consistent at all, but I eventually fixed it once I get to the final showcase. And then I'll of course flip the platforms. So you jump into the portal, hang on. Yeps. Then let's take this corridor again, but then I'll remove the blue pads, flip this to the floor. Yeah, this cube part wasn't really that interesting at all, especially since I didn't do any commentary, so let's skip to the wave part. Then we get on to the wave part. I remember the wave part having like this tightness, just copy and paste it throughout the part. Then we get, of course, the slabs. No wait, there were not slabs here, there were full blocks, right? And then we get on to like the cube duel. This dual cube was one of 3 parts that was actually frustrating to build, but I'm glad it's as short as it is. So I think it'll just be like staircase stuff, just like staircase, and yeah, maybe it's like too wide here, and then you hold. I did a lot of tweaking to this part, and it wasn't really that accurate, but it doesn't really matter because it's so short. Okay, that's definitely way too hard, okay. I ain't doing that. So isn't it like a portal like here? Or maybe you turn mini like here. And then spike here. Portal there. Oh, that's way too late. Still too late. And now we're on to Evasium, and as you probably can remember, I'm pretty scared for making Evasium. Alright, let's turn on ignore damage because we're now at Evasium. I think Evasium will be the hardest part to remake because Evasium is very complicated in its structuring, to say the least. I didn't struggle that much with the beginning of Evasium, but the second part of Evasium didn't go that well. That is way too easy for Bloodbath. That is probably way too hard for Bloodbath, okay. But like, what do I do then? It's like a corridor that you have to weave your way through. And then we have a normal gravity mini wave part. Let's like put this more to like fill up some more empty space. I think I have to place these at like the same... No, it didn't turn into upside down, it turned into big. Okay, that's just on the same path. And after tweaking some more gameplay, I began with the wave part. I remember there being, instead of like regular slope blocks, there were spikes like this to form pyramids that you could go inside of these spikes. Okay. Yeah, probably. Now wait, you see this? That wasn't in Bloodbath. This means that the entire gameplay for this UFO part was completely off sync. But I'll still show you how I made it. Click 2 times. I began with some simple inputs which were in the Bloodbath part, but not at that pace. I'll just litter this place in spikes because that was basically what Evasium did back then. And then right here it's slow speed and you turn into mini. The difficulty was also pretty off here, and I did make the gameplay very inconsistent and buggy, but I'll just fix that later. Now right here is where I begin to like forget stuff. Was it supposed to be like this or not? Definitely not something like that, that's way too hard, okay. I then added some structuring. Maybe the portal was right here. So you're supposed to be spamming a little bit at like the top. And then you need to be spamming a little bit on the bottom. Again, let me structure this accordingly to what it was supposed to be. And then the saw blade right here, which you have to avoid. Then you spam up. Right here is where you'll transition into crack. Now, when it gets to crack and the rest of the level, I'll get more fast-paced so that the video doesn't become 1 hour long. It was something like that, right? I first marked down the speed changes for how the part should go, and they were pretty accurate. At least in my eyes. And I think this is probably the most memorable part of Bloodbath. So now I get onto some structuring pretty similar to Varium again. And making similar structures to Varium, I did. Clubstep monsters, other structures. I was recreating this at a rapid pace. The only significant mistake in this part was forgetting to add this clubstep monster. But I still did something similar to it. And also, these structures right here are not close enough to the ground. But then I remember something right here. This clubstep monster. Clubstep monster recreated. Perfect. There was one of these here. One of those. Then right here you get into a corridor made of just these blocks. This was without a doubt the most accurate part of the level, but it's not really that impressive because it's so short. But you can definitely just skip that. Maybe it was something like this. Buffing time since the part was way too easy. Yeah, it had to have been something like that. And then right here, the structuring is really simple. It's just some clubstep monsters. And after adding some more clubstep monsters and polishing the part, I began with the segue to a Sonic Man. Then we get onto that little break. This spike, then half space. Almost everything was exactly identical to the original part, except the transition into the next part. And then like you also turn into Mini. That looks pretty awkward, so maybe I'll do something like this. Something like that, yeah. And after structuring the part, I began with a Sonic Man's UFO part. And this is just purely made out of saw blades, and I'll use these saw blades because they were the actual saw blades in the part, and yeah. And then I'll just do, maybe it's like slow speed here. Something that helped me a lot in making a Sonic Man's UFO part was the click pattern, because I usually play this part a lot in my free time. Maybe these were like flipped, still a little bit too high. But I was still struggling a decent amount with this part, especially with the difficulty and the placement of the saws. Maybe do another saw blade right here, some more saw blade stuff. We got some more saw blades right here. Let me also check this portal on. I remember there's way more saw blades being spammed here. That's definitely way too many saw blades. Okay, I'm removing those and putting pillars instead, because I do know that there were some pillars here. And also, I'll just move this to make it so that it's less tight. Nothing really interesting happened after this, so I'll just skip to a Sonic Man's ball part. So, also, this is probably the easiest part to make. I know I've said this like 5 billion times already, but this might be the easiest part to remake. I'll do this click like to check how free it is. The difficulty for this part was actually pretty spot on, but it took a lot of trial and error to get to that point. A yellow orb here, and then it just turns into orb for the rest. It was basically impossible for me to fail making this gameplay, because it's literally just orbs. How can you fail making orbs? Yeah, I just realized that you can do that. Hooray! Fun. Let's also structure these pillars. Maybe it wasn't like that, okay. I also did absolutely no commentary when making this spam. Bro, this is pretty tricky to make, but this might be the most accurate part because of how goddamn simple the gameplay is. And after doing some structuring for this part, I began with the transition into Etzer's part. Now we get onto the auto part, which is basically just this. I think I can just do these two sets of pads right here, just like this. And then we do these pads in like reverse. Oh god, that's not symmetrical, no. This was really easy to make because it's just auto, which cannot be said for the next part. So it's just like some classic just too wide stuff. And then you turn into half speed. And after structuring this part, I began with remaking the hardest parts yet. Etzer's UFO and ship parts. And trust me, this was extremely hard to remake. So let's begin. Okay, I'm sick of doing all of that. I'm just skipping right to here. So now I'll just continue with sync-based gameplay for Etzer. I first began with the 3 first blue orbs and Etzer's name. And then we get onto Etzer's logo. I'll just make Etzer's logo real quick to make this easier for me. It's like a long spike jump. Maybe not that long. This long. And then there's like some portal madness stuff. And this is like a combination of both pillars, normal structures, and saw blades. The beginning of Etzer's part went pretty well, but once I got to the portal spam, it went downhill pretty fast. Some more like portal madness stuff. Then it's a short ship segment. And then like right here, everything just turns into ground spike stuff. And there's no other structures, only ground spikes. Which is pretty weird, but I mean, it's just a style, right? After the UFO, I began with the short ship part, which wasn't that hard to remake either. I mean, I do have to remember that Etzer is, that most people say at least, that Etzer is the hardest part of Bloodbath. Okay, so this has to be some like curved straight fly. Or maybe it was straight fly with these slopes. That's at least what I think. And then we have like the fake one right here, so I'll just take this and then remake it with some of these spikes. It was a little bit difficult to make this part, but it went pretty seamlessly. The part after that, however, was one of, if not the most frustrating part to build by far. And then right here, it leads into some straight fly. I was for some reason struggling on some colorage for the part, which is strange because I wasn't even supposed to do that in this video. Maybe there was some more like gameplay before the straight fly. I remember there being UFO. The 79% transition from UFO into ship had one miscalculation which took about 5 minutes to correct. The placement of the ship portal. See, I accidentally placed the portals like this, even though I should have placed them like this. Although, I didn't figure that out at the time, so I just caved in and used the move trigger instead. And then right here is the mini slow ball parts. Let's do some more of this gameplay. Etzer confuses me a lot, dude. Because I know that move triggers didn't exist back then, so... Here... What is actually going on here? Why, Etzer? Why, dude? But after cleaning up the entirety of Etzer's part, I began with Havoc's ball part. Which actually went pretty well. Oh well, now we can at least be happy, and now we can focus on Havoc. Havoc went by pretty smoothly, and was kind of a break after the mess that was Etzer. Then we have the blue orb right here, a little timing like that for the family. And then with some black blocks right here in the ground spikes. And I remember that this part was relatively open. Then we have some portal shenanigans again. I'm surprised how fast I recreated this ball part, taking only 5 minutes in total. And I do remember there being blocks right here. I don't know if Riot did that, or if Havoc did that. Let's do this then. Crap, I forgot the 3x speed here, okay. As for most other parts of the level, this UFO part was mainly recreated by me remembering my click pattern. Okay, definitely move this a bit to the side. I do remember there being some, like, portal changes right here. And after making a pretty good playtest line, I began with filling in structures in the part. But I accidentally made the part a little bit too easy. Okay, this is probably way too open, so... Now we get onto this part, which was like the slow wave. And also, fun fact, Gyron, or Giron, is definitely the shortest part of Bloodbath. I remember right here, there was like some ground spike spam. You go a little bit up and there's some more spikes like this and some more ground spike spam. Gyron's wave part was pretty easy to make due to its simple gameplay and structuring. Also, this is definitely way too high up. I'm moving this way further down. Then we get onto the part that I hate the most of Bloodbath, being Giron's stupid ship parts. So it's like some super tight shit with some like upside down Even though I hate Gyron's ship part, it was pretty easy to remake as well, because it's just copy and pasted gameplay. So here we have some more actual structuring. I don't really think there were ground spikes here, but I do remember that these orbs were stupidly tight. I mean stupidly tight. And when I say stupidly tight, I mean stupid. And so this is like some almost straight fly. So it's something like that, yeah. Yeah, something simple like that, I guess. Structuring time. Because my commentary sucked, we get on to the second duel part. And this was the third part of the level that was actually frustrating to build. So you hit 2 orbs, it's boom boom boom, and then you gotta make it so that you jump here. You might think that this part wasn't that hard to remake, but this jump right here was pretty hard to make work well, because in the real Bloodbath, only the mini cube is supposed to jump off of it. Wait, hang on, how the hell do I make this work? You're not supposed to jump there. Wait, should I just make this in reverse? It's the top that's supposed to be normal and the bottom that's supposed to be mini. So, boom boom. This part wasn't as frustrating as it was confusing to make, and the final version was very awkward to say the least. Okay, you have to click them late. Something like this. And then we get some trippy stuff. Alright, I do know that you turn into non-mini here, and then there's Gyron's logo. I don't know how to make this stuff, dude. How am I supposed to know? I am not talented in making these logos. Let's just do this, sure. And this was when I really began to struggle with making the dual part work well. Bro, stop. You know what if it's like this? Nope, not like that. I hate this. I hate this so much. But after fixing that, I began with the final part of the level being, of course, G-Boy's part. And I do remember there being a platform right here, double spike, and then orb with a click that Riot died to when he was verified. Then we get a UFO part. Maybe this was moved a bit to the side. The beginning of G-Boy was pretty easy to make, but the rest was pretty confusing and buggy. Something like that. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spikes. Yeah, probably. Okay, let's do this whole ordeal. This was the part where I had pretty much the worst commentary out of the entire recording, so I'll just go over this in post-commentary. The first few clicks of the ball part were pretty accurate to the original, but it wasn't exactly 1-to-1. Some of it was just filler gameplay because I didn't remember the actual gameplay in that section. But after I got to this structure was when I began remembering stuff again. Ka-ching, ka-chang, ka-chong. I was remembering stuff really well and time was flying pretty fast. And I was suddenly almost finished with the entire gameplay. And after finishing Riot's short part, I began with structuring the rest of G-Boy's part. And after failing to make G-Boy's logo because I didn't know how to make a B, the level was entirely finished. Thank you guys so much for watching this insanely big video, and let's get on to the final showcase of the level.